There's been a lot of complaints about this game since release. I want to give you guys my perspective on why I have little to no complaints about this game compared to a lot of others who have played. So, at the time of the recording of this video, I've beat most of the bosses except maybe the Centaur and the final boss, I'm pretty sure, and I'm having a blast so far. I think Elden Ring Nightreign is a fantastic game. Like I mentioned, little to no complaints, and I'll get into my complaints later on. But Elden Ring Nightreign is directed by Junya Ishizaki, and here's how I see it. Miyazaki giving the roles to his team, right? He does this, gives them the freedom to give us a new taste to our palate when it comes to From Software, right? In turn, if these new systems are received well, Miyazaki might pull some from this game into the next main title. It gives a chance for junior developers or regular people who are on the team that have worked on previous works under the direction of Miyazaki, and gives them something to do. They can whip up some fresh ideas and not stick with the formula that we all love, and to, test something, to try something out. And From Software isn't immune to criticism, okay? As much as I love From Software, in my eyes, Miyazaki is the GOAT. I am a massive meat writer. I will glaze Miyazaki and FromSoft until the day I die, until they do me utterly wrong. So, but they're not immune to criticism. At the same time, though, they are one of the only companies, in my eyes, that are allowed to put out a $40 spin-off game to try something new, and are willing to step outside their comfort zone, because their player trust and reputation exceeds 99% of other AAA studios. So, real quick, let's just get into what this game is, okay? So, Ishizaki gave us a multiplayer-driven game with 0 microtransactions and only paid future DLC, right? That's number one. Number two, the game is only $40. It's not $50, it's not $60, it's not $70. It's $40, $50 for the deluxe if you wanted to, get the art book and the soundtrack or whatever, right? So, they gave us this roguelike set in Elden Ring. Plays a lot like Elden Ring. There's these characters with abilities. Okay. You go into a run, you're dropped onto the map. You have to get as much runes, as much gear as you can before the storm closes in, and then you fight the day 1 boss, right? And then rinse and repeat day 2. After day 2, you go into day 3, fight the final boss, okay? Little roguelike elements, the storm closing in, getting the loot. When you die, you lose everything, but then you get like the rights, the rune rights or whatever that you can add to your character to give them some buffs as soon as you start a run, make them stronger, right? So, I do have mainly 2 issues. In my opinion, I have 2 issues with this game, and for me, it's not even that big of a deal. It's not going to be something that stops me from playing the game. It's just something that I know they'll probably add in the future, and I have no issues with it. I'm going to keep playing the game as is. So, for me, the first thing is a duo system would be nice. I will say I would like to have a duo system. I've been playing this game with my buddy David, and me and him have just been getting randoms, and, it's a coin toss with the randoms. Some of them might, go off on their own, die a bunch of times, not be leveled by day 1. They keep dying, they DC, they leave. That's how it is. It's just me and him for the rest of the run. Totally fine. It is what it is. The other times, the randoms, they are competent. They follow along with a plan. They suggest areas to go to. We go to them. It's a good time. We beat the boss. That's that, right? And so, a duo system would be nice. I will say that. I would like a duo system, but it's not a killer for me. It's not going to make me stop playing the game. Second thing I would like... Now, I do think they should extend the time between circles closing in by maybe, and I'm saying like maybe 3 to 5 minutes, because I do enjoy how fast-paced it is, I will say. Now, with randoms, it does get a little hectic, especially if I'm playing with my boy David. Now, if I'm doing solo runs, doesn't even matter. I'm doing my own thing. I'm locked in. I have a plan routed as soon as I'm loaded in with the bird. So I do think in those scenarios where you have randoms on your team and there's a lack of communication, and that's just how it's been with From Software. There's never been a dedicated voice chat, text chat, anything like that. That's why we have gestures, and we have like the little things that we talk into, like hello, stuff like that, right? So, and that's another thing people are complaining about and everything like that. And I'm not even going to get into like majority of people's complaints. Here's the way I see it. This game is a testing ground for these developers to try new ideas, spitball some things, see how we, see how we respond to it. And in my opinion, there shouldn't be the need to have all these systems in place for a game that's essentially just a lab. This is their lab. They're testing things out. We paid $40 for it. We got a full-fledged experience for $40. I'm enjoying it. But at the same time, it's almost like I just feel like they just don't need to respond to maybe 40% of what people are asking for. And that's just me. Like I said, dude, I'm the biggest From Software, like meat rider, glazer, whatever you want to call it. But at the same time, I think people have to understand that these guys know what they're doing, okay? From Software, all these guys at From Software, for the most part, they know what the fuck they're doing. They've been doing this a long time. The guy that's directing this game right here, he's worked on Dark Souls, Bloodborne, Elden Ring, Dark Souls 3, right? So he's worked under Miyazaki for a long time. And that's probably why Miyazaki gave him this role, so he can, test out, see what he can do in a director position, right? Give him a chance. So, I don't know, man. That's just the way I see it. This is the lab. I'm more than happy as a fan to pay $40 and be a guinea pig and test out new systems. More than happy to. They're probably the only company that I am willing to do that for. 100%. So, like I mentioned, they're not immune to criticism, but at the same time, I think people don't understand what this game is. I think people don't fully understand the purpose of this game, and that's okay. That's totally fine, right? But I just want to put that out there and just say, this isn't meant to be a full-fledged experience like what we played with Elden Ring, okay? This is a lab. That's how I'm gonna put it, as a lab, right? So, like I mentioned, people have a whole list of things they say is needed for this game. I sort of disagree. Fortunately for a lot of the people that are like bitching about it, From Software listens to an extent. So most of their ends will be met in due time. They will be heard, and that's totally fine. Another reason why I find this game fascinating and why I personally like it a lot and I've been enjoying it a lot is this is a game that is made by From Software. It's essentially a form of Elden Ring, right? And this is a game where I can, if I wanted to, I can come home and hop in, play a couple games, and then hop off, right? I'm not worrying about, okay, what do I got to do next in my playthrough? Like with most From Software games, and I love that I can't stress enough, right? But I like the formula that they're using here for this game because you can get on, maybe invite some of your homies, maybe do some solo runs, get in with some randoms, go on a couple runs, maybe do some remembrance quests, okay? And then hop off if you're not planning on doing a long gaming session, right? Hop on for 2-3 games, hop off. They last maybe, I don't know, like 30-40 minutes, right? Hop on, play a couple games, and then hop off. I'm not worrying about where I am in my playthrough. Oh, I gotta get to this bonfire before I log off. Oh, maybe I should clear this area, do this boss, blah, 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 right? This is a From Software game where I can just hop on, load into a game, and get off. Kind of like how Counter-Strike is, like how Fortnite is, like how any live service game is where there's matchmaking, right? Any multiplayer game. Now, this gives me a substitute, so I don't have to get on Fortnite, I don't have to get on Counter-Strike, I don't have to get on Marvel Rivals, I don't have to get on these games. If I just want to play a quick game, now I have the option, if I don't feel like playing those games, and I have a little amount of time, I now have the option to hop on Nightreign, go through a couple runs, hop off. And to me, that's fantastic. To me, that is great. I'm thrilled at the thought of that, and I can't wait to beat the 2 final bosses that I have to beat, finish the remembrances off, and then just grind currency just so I can unlock all the throwback cosmetics like Solaire, Artorias, Onion Bro, the Firekeeper in Dark Souls 2 for the Sorceress, right? Though that to me is true endgame. Like Fashion Soul is above everything else in my opinion. That's just how it is. Like when I was playing with my buddy David after we beat the first boss, we were sitting there and we're like, okay, dude, how do we unlock the mirror? And we beat the second boss, and we're like, ah, shit, man, here's the mirror. Now the true end game's about to start. We got to start grinding for this currency, man. That's just how we play our games, and we have a blast doing it. You know, fashion souls over everything. You got to look good playing these games. It's been that way since I first started playing Dark Souls 1. When my buddies told me to buy the game, they told me, you're not allowed to look up anything on YouTube. You have to go in blind. You're going to make your mistakes. You're going to get upset, but you're going to learn to love this game. And I don't know, I forgot how old I was. I was very young when I played Dark Souls 1 for the first time. I think it was around like maybe 2012, 2013. And it made me appreciate and love these type of games. And ever since, I've been playing every From Software title that's come out since. And Nightreign's no different. I just like this new formula they're using, and in all honesty, I'm a huge fan. I really enjoy this game. I can't stress enough. Like, there's little things that need to be tweaked, whatever. But overall, I love what they're doing with their team and how they're going outside of their comfort zone to just try new things. And they have the player trust to do it, and I have no complaints, in all honesty. Other than the minuscule things, that's pretty much it. I mean, the boss fights are overall pretty decent. All the characters feel fun to play. All their abilities feel satisfying. Every cosmetic is earned in-game, okay? With the in-game currency, no microtransactions. The Earth shifts add diversity to the runs. And also those little world events, you know, where you can get cursed, and there's that goat dude, and you have to give him like 35,000 souls, or else, you know, a third of your health bar is just gone for the entire run. You know, those like random world events. So in terms of like run diversity, build diversity, it's not as huge as like a standard roguelike, but it's there, you know, and they're probably going to expand on it in the future for sure. No doubt about it. You know, it's pretty good for $40, and it's From Software. So I know that's $40 well spent. The most important thing to me is, even though this game is so different than its predecessors, it still feels like a Souls game by From Software. It is literally still Elden Ring, right? We're playing Elden Ring, but we're playing a new game mode, right? So, here's how I explain this game to people. Now, if you guys have played Far Cry 3, there's a good chance you've also played Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon. Now, Blood Dragon, to me, is my favorite Far Cry game. Like, hands down, it's my favorite. And it was literally just Far Cry 3, copy-pasted, with a new campaign, and they changed the theme and the graphics and everything to be set in like a retro 80s style type world, right? A lot of neons and shit like that. And to me, that's what Nightreign is to Elden Ring. It's still Elden Ring, but with a twist on it. And it's just $40, and I like that. I'm be honest, I like that. I just want people to understand that this game isn't what they think it might be in their heads. I think a lot of people had expectations for this game, and they didn't really read up on what this game was gonna be about. And so they had their own headcanon on what this game was gonna be. So when they bought the game, and then they played the game for the first time, their headcanon was immediately just, like, out, right? It wasn't validated. So, and that upsets them. And I think a lot of people did that. So I think a lot of people misunderstood what this game is supposed to be about. So I just wanted to throw that out there. Just a quick video about how I feel about the game so far, people's complaints, what the game was supposed to be, stuff like that. You know, I'm going to keep playing the game. I'm planning on finishing it sometime this week with my boy David. So, you know, and that's pretty much all I had to say. Just a quick little short video. Just wanted to tell you guys that I personally love this game. I think it's fantastic. It has its little flaws here and there. You know, I know people experience like crashes and stuff like that. I haven't really experienced any of that. But, you know, it is what it is. You know, optimization stuff, whatever, blah, blah, blah. We know, you know, the standard, right? There's complaints about every modern game that come out nowadays, where it's just a copy-pasted complaint, where it's like optimization, this and that, crashes, bug fixes, blah, 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 and that's just how it is nowadays. So, you know, there's a lot of that, and then there's a lot of other complaints, you know, crossplay, voice chat, XYZ, all that kind of stuff, you know. So, I mean, we'll see how From Software responds to it. I know they already released that patch where they made the solo experience a little bit better. You know, you get more souls, you get a revive during every boss fight during the end of the day. And I know they're adding on planning a duo system. I'm pretty sure they actually tweeted about that, about adding duos in the future. So that's already been addressed. But yeah, you know, that's how it is. Elden Ring, Nightreign, you know, Miyazaki, he has a good team. He directs good people. You know, he's giving the opportunity for other people to do the same and to test out new ideas, and I have absolutely zero complaints with that. I think Elden Ring Nightreign's a fantastic game so far, and I'm excited to see what they do in the future. I do hope, I will say, I do hope they add, you know, more bosses in the DLCs from previous games. A lot of people say that's lazy. Oh, you're reusing assets, blah, 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 blah. You know, fuck off, dude. You know, like, people who say that haven't played the previous games, okay? These bosses from the previous Souls games, fire. You know what I mean? I would gladly replay some bosses in a roguelike setting in Elden Ring, okay, from other Souls-likes. I don't see it as reusing assets or laziness whatsoever. I'm overjoyed at the fact that we are getting more throwback bosses than, you know, any new ones. And some people might say, oh, dude, you're just, you know, trapped and guided by nostalgia. And yeah, sure, 100%. I mean, this is my favorite game franchise. I loved playing through these games multiple times. Of course, I'm going to enjoy seeing the bosses that I've killed over 100 times again in another game. Like, what? Like, that's just how it is, you know? This is why it's hard for me to stress that From Software is allowed to do this in my eyes. In my eyes, call it what you will. If they want to reuse bosses, hey, do it. All their bosses, majority of their bosses are fantastic. Design-wise, in terms of the fight, they're fun. Hey, I wouldn't even mind if we saw Quayleg again, you know what I mean? Hey, but that's for other reasons, all right? I just miss her, okay? We had a toxic relationship when I played Dark Souls 1 for the first time. But, you know, after I beat the game, I look back and, you know, she's probably one of my favorites for said reasons, you know, at the time, being like, I forgot how old I was, maybe 12 or 13, I don't know. Anyways, nonetheless, maybe younger, honestly can't remember, but, you know, I wouldn't mind, and that's just how it is. Anyways, I'm done. I just wanted to make a quick little video, so I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. You know, if you guys haven't tried Nightreign, I personally highly recommend it if you're a Souls fan. You know, if you've enjoyed these games for, you know, however many years, you know, if you're a new player, old, veteran, whatever the fuck you want to call yourself, I think it's fantastic. It's a fun new thing they're trying out. I will always support From Software until they, you know, pull like a Ubisoft or anything like that, but I don't see that happening probably ever in my lifetime. So, anyways, that's how I feel about the game. You guys have a fantastic rest of your day. Have a good rest of your week. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace!